women.
Last fourth wave of feminism has said that men can be women.
It was all a lie. Being a modern working woman actually made me angry, lonely, and miserable.
Well. We're finally starting to see the cracks forming in the fragile armor of feminism, which for decades has claimed that it's not a man-hating ideology and that it's simply about wanting equality between the sexes.
Women's rights are something that is so far behind human rights.
It's about women being able to make the same choices for themselves that men have always been able to make.
Yeah, it's not. Because when you ask the average woman what she thinks about feminism, she doesn't only agree that feminism has spiraled out of control.
Feminism has gone too far.
Yes, I'm so old, I definitely think that.
Yeah, why?
Well, it's excessive, completely excessive.
Yeah.
But a lot of women actually go one step further and they claim that it's now doing more harm than good.
This movement claims to be fighting for equality, but in reality, it's actually hurting women.
And actually, I think it's doing more harm than good.
Modern day feminism is a pill that you take from the pharmacy that causes an array of 100 different negative side effects that you choose to ignore.
So clearly is having a massive problem when it can't even convince women to join the movement. But that is just a start, since the problems for modern feminism are about to get a lot worse.
The future isn't female anymore. Young people especially were turning against the movement.
So why is feminism dying, and why are so many women rejecting it, especially since we know that women aren't exactly becoming conservative traditional wives?
Spit in my mouth.
Spit in your mouth? You a super freak?
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, totally wifey material. In fact, according to recent studies, younger women are becoming increasingly more liberal, while younger men are becoming more conservative. Now, feminists see this as a major win. However, I like to argue that this is exactly the reason why feminism will die. Since, ironically, feminists don't seem to get that in order for a women's movement to actually exist and thrive, you need one crucial element: women, as in a constant supply of new women. So that means that you need to start making a lot of babies, and that is exactly what this new generation of feminists is heavily against.
I think it's not a need for women anymore. We don't need to have children. We find that our own happiness is more important, our own mental health is more important.
So obviously, this presents a very practical and real problem for feminists, since we are already seeing woke liberal women complaining that men do not want to date them. And even if they do find a man, those same women do not want to have kids. So yeah, solid plan, feminist, you are literally being bred out of existence, since this basically means that the only people who will be making babies in the future are conservatives or the age of desperation. Anyways, all of this begs the question, why would feminists steer women towards this path of misery if it doesn't lead to happiness at all, and if it's not even serving women's own interests? A little secret, which is that equality between men and women was never really the main goal of feminism, but it was simply a byproduct of wanting to free women from the so-called slavery bonds of the family unit. Now mind you, this is not some radical opinion from a man who criticizes feminism, it is the actual fundamental belief from the grandmother of feminism, Simone de Beauvoir. Not only did she write the feminist Bible called The Second Sex, but she actually spent a lot of time stressing the fact that women need to be freed from men and the bonds of slavish servitude of homemaking and raising a family. Now yes, I agree that in 1949's France, when she wrote her book, that yes, homemaking and raising kids back then wasn't exactly a fun time. However, when we look at motherhood and homemaking in 2024, being a stay-at-home mom is a totally different world, and raising a kid with the help of modern technology is a hell of a lot easier. So when you keep bringing up these ancient and really just archaic feminist fundamentals to women who live in the 21st century and are educated, have bank accounts, and are able to spend time on their hobbies while raising a family, then it just doesn't align with reality, and there's no point to modern feminism.
The solutions that modern feminism proposes don't have much to say to the crises that a lot of young women feel like they're facing.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see the purpose in modern day feminism right now. It doesn't really seem to be achieving anything or progressing in any way.
Nowadays, I feel like feminism has become this women versus men debacle.
However, the massive rise of parents who are homeschooling or pulling their kids out of ridiculous woke schools is going to be quite difficult for feminists to indoctrinate children that they don't have access to. And secondly is the fact that many women are already living very liberated lives where they're able to do exactly what they want and that they're not feeling oppressed at all.
This word patriarchy, it does not make any sense to me. Women are not oppressed in America.
For these women, the classic feminist propaganda is completely useless, especially when those women also want to have a family. So these two forces are already more than enough to slowly drain the life out of modern feminism. But ironically, it's again feminists themselves who are accelerating this process by injecting 100 different topics and causes into feminism, thereby generating new forms of feminism every 5 seconds, basically creating feminism diarrhea.
What is TERF feminism? You're a Eurocentric feminist. Trend-based feminism, pretty privileged feminism, liberal feminism.
So with the injection of the LGBTQ agenda, and more specifically the trans agenda, you have basically alienated every single woman who wants to have female spaces and wants to keep biological adult men away from teenage girls.
I mean, you can try and destroy women's rights, you can try and destroy women's spaces, you can try and insist that men are women, but tomorrow morning men will still wake up men.
I mean, feminists have all this talk about destroying patriarchy to protect women and girls from this made-up danger, but when it comes to actual danger, they are completely blind and silenced to the very real destruction that the trans agenda is doing to women's spaces, women's sports, and the very definition of what a woman is. So how the hell are you going to have a movement that is pro-women if you don't even agree on what a woman is? And more importantly, how are you going to fight for women's issues when part of your movement wants to completely eliminate all references to the word woman and womanhood?
Because I've noticed over the last few years, we seem to be losing the word woman. So we might be called cervix havers or menstruators.
That would be like a men's right movement going around shouting, "Let's cut off our dick." No thank you, I'm definitely not supporting that. And so as you start to peel off each layer of modern feminism that is below the supposed definition of just wanting equality, then you start to see the multitude of reasons why a lot of women are seriously pissed off at the movement and want nothing to do with it.
Thank goodness that so many of us are waking up to the fact that modern day feminism is a literal scam meant to disconnect and separate and isolate women from one another.
Feminists play into this victim narrative that women are victims of society, of the patriarchy, when we have so much power.
Now it's important to note here that I'm not critiquing feminism because I'm anti-woman or because I believe that women do not deserve respect. Since wholesome women absolutely do deserve respect.
And so what does how many sexual partners someone had before you have to do with you being able to be considered a trophy wife or wifey material?
So no, the reason why I don't support feminism is because it's simply a facade. It is masquerading as a pro-equality movement, just wanting love, peace, and respect between the sexes, but in reality, it is much more concerned with a whole bunch of other agendas, one of which is simply being anti-male whenever it gets the chance. And that's not just me as a man saying this, that's actually coming from women themselves.
Feminism today, to me, is all about advantaging women at the expense of men.
I was all on that bandwagon and just like, wow, women. And I had watched like Half the Sky, which just makes you like hate men. It really does.
So by focusing so much time and effort on bashing men and trying to convince ordinary women that men are evil, it is actually forgetting that many of those women have loving brothers, sons, grandpas, and fathers that they all cherish and respect. So just imagine a mother of 2 boys who she adores hearing something like this.
I'm thinking of my teenage son.
Really hard for a 16, 17-year-old boy now.
That if you touch in the wrong place at the wrong time, you may find that your whole life is destroyed.
See, I
and
like
there is
that,
far
Tara.
too much. Well, I
like that.
Yeah, she's not exactly going to be thrilled to call herself a feminist, now is she? So again, by spreading all of this man hate, feminists are alienating even more women than they already were, which just adds to the further decay of modern feminism. Now all of this begs the question of, will feminism disappear completely?
How dare you!
Sorry, couldn't resist. The best years of feminism are indeed behind her, and that's actually a good thing for women. Because this means that all of the important issues that women wanted to achieve, such as voting rights, owning property, access to banking and education, all of that and more have been accomplished. And so because feminists are now running out of real-world problems to solve, they have resorted to just making up fake ones, such as the sexist air conditioning.
Any woman who has had to keep a blanket or an extra sweater or a fleece or a parka or winter boots at her desk knows the perils of air conditioning in the office.
Sexist, it's bad for business because productivity goes down when it's that cold, and it's wasteful.
There I was thinking it was just me that had a problem, but it turns out it's the air conditioning that's sexist.
I know. So many women in our office have the exact same problem. You know, one of the biggest problems is that often in offices, it is men who control temperatures. You know, that's just something I've found anecdotally.
I mean, come on. Ladies, just take the win. You don't have to keep making up new forms of fake sexism. You already have everything you need to be free and successful. And so by focusing on this kind of nonsense, the real threats to women and girls are just quietly cruising by while being applauded and danced to by the next generation of women. This touches on a very important feminist spear point, which is the sexual liberation of women, and has led us down this wonderful path straight into the hell of hookup culture. Now, you can argue all day about who's to blame for hookup culture, but the reality is that the only way you could sleep with a woman in the past was to marry her. And so you had to invest some serious time, energy, and commitment, which is exactly what women are craving for today. So in the end, when you add up all of the things that modern feminism is pushing onto young women, claiming that it will bring them freedom and happiness, such as promiscuity and hookup culture, climbing the corporate ladder, eliminating women's sports, eliminating women's spaces, eliminating the very definition of a woman, then yeah, what the hell is modern feminism actually doing for women? This feminism is dying out. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos.